Hey everybody, hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Holotheatre. As always, I'm Dan Tartaglione, also known as D Tartag1. Tonight we got a nice little episode that involves, we got two of the Americans that went over to Germany recently. Uh, they came back. We got a nice little interview from them. So definitely gonna be looking forward to getting that one on the books and talking to those guys. However, first things first, let's go ahead and let's talk about what's going on in the world of Star Wars CCG. So first of all, we got the normal stuff. We got some events coming up, including the Now Huddle League. They have an event in Carmel, Indiana on the 16th, so this Saturday. Then I believe that is the first weekend in October. They have their Super Weekend, also in Carmel. That weekend, again, like I said, it is the first weekend in October. Going to be a big one. And then the last weekend in October, we have the Endor Grand Prix out in Seattle. Chris Worfs and all of those guys are going to be putting on one heck of an event. So make sure you guys either go to that, follow along what's going on with it. But yeah, see, I mean, I would try and go if I were you. It's going to be one of the Seattle. They always put a really good event on. So yeah, that one's definitely going to be a fun one. And then last but not least is the first weekend in November. That is going to be the Corellia Super Weekend, also known as the Omega Worlds. So I know a lot of people are talking about going to that. I know a lot of people are really, really excited about going to that one. So if you can, make it out. That one's going to be a fun weekend. Both these Super Weekends involve their regionals as well as the on Saturday is going to be the regionals, followed by on Sunday is the states, Indiana and Ohio states. So definitely looking forward to all of what's going on in Star Wars CCG right now. Yeah, like I said, get out there, go play. Going to be an exciting time. So let's go ahead and check in on our current OCS standings. We are in the middle of the September OCS, as you can see right here. Timo Dussel sitting at 11-1. Not a lot of surprises, however, definitely. Definitely, I mean, sitting there at 11-1, possibly the last month of the OCS, really strong. So good job, Timo. We have Connor Britton sitting at 9-3. Tom Struther, our resident, plays every format he can, sitting there at 8-4. Jared Napolitano 5-7. Those are our players right now who have finished all their games this month. Make sure you guys finish up, get some games in. Looking on down the line, we have Justin Desai at 6-1, and we have Grief Karga at 5-1. And then Scott Lingrell with his Court Musicians deck sitting there at 4-1. So you still got some time. Get out there, go play some OCS games, and maybe you'll make the top 16 players and get yourself some cool stuff. So, but on top of that, so right now we got an exciting interview. We're going to be. I had the pleasure of interviewing Mike Kessling and Tommy. Tommy, also known as Large Porg, this a few days ago. So we got a nice little interview about their trip to Europe this past weekend, and I know that a lot of people are looking forward to the interview that I do with Tommy. Later on, we're going to be talking about his journey, what got him into Star Wars, all the normal stuff that we normally talk about, as well as his adventures across essentially the globe at this point. Because, I mean, the man has gone everywhere. He's gone to local events. He's gone to training events. He's gone to regionals. He's gone to every major this year. So first of all, if you are watching, Tommy, again, great job with that. We got to get you out to Endor. It's going to be a fun event, and definitely looking forward to that. So let's go ahead and get into the interview, and we'll be back. And I do have the exciting announcement. I have words from up on high. Our wonderful design advocate has given me the honor of spoiling the new Emperor Palpatine that will be coming out in set 22. So we'll be doing that a little bit after, once we're done with the interview. So make sure you guys stick around for that, because this one's going to be fun. So I'm gonna spoil so the game text is already spoiled, but I'm gonna spoil the underlying card as well as the lore, because there is gonna be lore in this character. So, but we'll be back right after this interview. Okay, everybody, and here I am sitting with two of our American European travelers. First off, I have Mike Kessling. Mike, a member of New Allies, as well as one of the nicest guys in Star Wars. And then joining us from the Death Star construction out in Boston is Mr. Large Porg himself, Tommy. How do you say your last name? I know I'm going to butcher it.
Santa Swasso.
Tommy Santa Swanso. Swasso. We're just going to call you Large Porg. I think that's a little easier.
Yeah, Large Porg works. Call me Large Porg.
So, thanks for joining us, guys. So we're here to talk about your recent trip to the the European the European Championship event out in Bochum. How was it?
It was great. This is my fourth time going to Europe, and each time has been a complete blast. How about for you, Tommy? I know it was your first time.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. I love meeting the people. I had some stiff competition out there. I learned a ton.
So I know, Tommy, you were one of the first Americans to say that you were going, and then Mike, you and Joe came on almost essentially in the last minute. What made you guys want to go?
I'll let you go first, Tommy.
Yeah, I had the goal this year of making it to every major. I know we're gonna do the Porg special, kind of do the origin story episode next time. But a little about me was that I started playing 2021, never played before, and I just loved the game, trying to get over the learning curve. So that's why I wanted to go to as much as I could. And when I saw all of the skill over in Europe, I was like, I can't miss that. So.
That's fair.
And I truly had no intention of going to Euros, and I got a message from Tommy the Thursday before the event, so a week before I arrived in Europe, asking, Are you sure you don't want to go? I might be able to help you with some flight stuff. And I asked my wife that night and said, my buddy's asking me to go. Some of the Europeans were asking him to bring me along. And she didn't immediately say no. She said, come back and we can talk about it later. And I said, okay. So I went and did some of my own searching and actually found really inexpensive flights. And so I saw that Kevin from Team Wales was on Facebook, and I let him know I found a flight to Manchester that would get me in Thursday morning. It was a small amount of miles and only $100 out of my pocket. And He said they had room in the car in the ferry. And then, so step one was squared away. Then it was figuring out how can I get home. And I did I did searching, and I found another really inexpensive flight, Dusseldorf to Amsterdam, direct back to Atlanta for about $200 and a small amount of miles. And so I showed that to my wife, and she said, for $300 and not a lot of miles, you should just go. So with that, within 24 hours, it went from not even on my radar to considering to booking. And and we had family in town all weekend. So I had about 3 hours to get my cards ready before on Monday on Labor Day. before then I
Wow.
worked Tuesday, Wednesday, and then flew out Wednesday night. So it was a whirlwind.
That sounds like it. I mean, but when people want you there, why not? And
I wanted to go, but it just wasn't on my radar of like to even broach the subject. It wasn't something I was considering. I've gone to the other majors this year. I'm planning to go to
mhm.
Seattle. I was honestly just shocked that it all worked out. So I'm thrilled I got to go.
Yeah, my message to Mike was it was instigated by one of the European guys, Tamash. I asked him, hey, is there anything I can bring you from the U.S.? Do you need, like any clam chowder from Boston? You want me to stop by Philly, get you a cheesesteak? He's like, what would be really great if you could bring a couple more Americans. And he dropped a couple names, and I said, well, I'll see what I can do.
uh, well, I mean, here's my first of all, that's amazing. Second of all, he did not name drop my name. That like offensive, Tomas. I mean, I get Mike, but come on. No,
You definitely missed him.
believe me, like I've heard of the great stories of the indoor competitions. How or not the wow? Why do I want to keep saying indoor? Like it's the European competitions, and I mean just the thought like of everybody going over there, the camaraderie. It just seems like it's one of the best events that is put on across the world. So a big first of all, big props to your families for letting you guys go. Cause I mean, it's not the easiest of things to, especially last minute, to put a half a world trip away. You know, so Mike, like that's impressive that your wife just was like, sure,
All thanks to Jen. Yes, I am
yeah.
very.
And likewise, Fluffy Porg has been so patient with me traveling around so much this year, and she's glad I'm back.
So so you guys got out to Germany. Did you experience anything else besides the tournament?
Well, I got El Toro steak on Thursday night with Tamash and Blackfire, so that was good.
And again for lunch Friday, right?
We almost went there and had them open the place early for us, but yeah, yeah, just the once, yeah.
Mm.
I got the pleasure of flying into Manchester, and then I took a train from Manchester to Liverpool. And Kevin picked me up there, and then we met up with John Morley, another member of Team Wales, and then drove clear across England to Hull, which is a port. Drove a car onto what they called a ferry. I would call it a miniature cruise ship. Um, Spent the night on the cruise, and that took us across the sea to Rotterdam. So we spent the night playing games, having drinks, hanging out, just having a great time. There was a live band playing. We saw a concert, and then we arrived in Rotterdam, and then it's about a 3-hour drive from there to Bochum. We stopped along the way at a cemetery for fallen soldiers from World War One and World War Two, and John's great grandfather is interred there. So we paid our respects. That was quite an experience. And then showed up in Bochum, had a kebab, and then we met up with everybody at the Acora, which is the hotel that most of the players stay at. And it was extremely hot, but it was a nice enough day that we were all out in the back. There's a big garden area, so we were having drinks and everybody was catching up. Tommy was there, Bastian, Quirin, the Dutch crew, Team Wales, and then we all made our way over to the Four Winds, the bar where the event is hosted, later in the afternoon. And then we spent Friday night there doing the team event and hanging out. And so really the rest of the weekend until Sunday night was basically between the hotel in the Four Winds, and then Sunday night was back to El Toro for steak.
That's awesome. Like, I gotta ask, how was it driving from England to Germany with the Wales guys?
It was wonderful. It was a really good time just to get. I've known them from prior trips, but never had. I mean, 6 hours in the car together, you really get to know people well.
Yeah.
So we talked some about cards, but a lot more about life and various things, and really had a great time with those guys. And their hospitality was unmeasured.
Oh, I can imagine that. Yeah, I know Kevin and them. They're again the nicest guys that I've had the pleasure of just talking to. Not so. Those are definitely a group of guys that I'm looking forward to meeting, hopefully in the future. So while we have you, Mike, why don't we go ahead and talk about your decks? So for day one, you said you were scrambling to build your decks Labor Day weekend. What did you decide upon?
So I played Yoda Communing at Worlds and went 3-1 with it. Felt very comfortable with that deck. Pretty quickly settled on I'm just going to play the same thing. I knew, unlike other tournaments where I bring all of my decks, I probably have 20 or so decks put together. I was going to bring very few decks, so I brought Yoda Communing, No Idea, and one or two other light sides, some other mains deck and some other platform deck. And then for Dark Side at Worlds, I played Shadow Collective, and I changed the deck a bunch the week of the tournament, which was a mistake, and decided I wasn't going to play that. But I brought the things to build any version of Shadow Collective I wanted, ISB, the various Revenge of the Sith builds, or Invasion. And flying over, I decided I'm just going to play ISB. It did well enough at Worlds for the team, and I thought it was likely a little bit under the radar and something that I felt comfortable playing that wasn't Shadow Collective. I've just played a lot of Shadow Collective. So I narrowed in on those quickly, and honestly, some of that was a function of just what I had built and what I thought would do well.
And I know, like you said, you played a lot of Shadow Collective. I want to say that you're one of the best Shadow Collective players that I know, so I'm a little surprised to see you play something that's not Shadow Collective. But so let's talk about your ISB deck, first of all. I know you're going with, it's a lot of characters. I see 3 Tarkins, 2 of like the main ones, like Colonel Wolf Yularen and Lieutenant Deirdre. But the thing that really sticks out is I see 2 Stormtrooper garrisons. I see 2, Apology Accepted. So and 5 copies of We Must Accelerate Our Plans. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, you really want to hit the bridge quickly, and you want to get the free Executor. So the Accelerates help with that. My concern with this deck going into Worlds was that it felt weak to weapons in particular, and there was a lot of debate on the team on if Stormtrooper garrisons were needed, if Ceasefire was needed. And so I was originally playing 2 Ceasefire and 2 garrisons. We were then a bit concerned about the vulnerability of the Falcon, and I decided to try. Matt suggested Apology Accepted as a potential answer, so I decided to try it. I didn't get to use it once on Saturday. No one ever attacked the Executor consequentially. So going into day 2, the garrisons felt okay. They were a little clunky. They're very expensive. And so I lost twice with ISB on day 1, but I lost in the last game. I was 6-1. I lost to Angelo by 1 on time. He was playing Diplo, and I felt like he thought he was going to win the game. I thought I was going to win the game regardless. There wasn't a ton of value of Garrison in that matchup, but I played against Jonas in like round 5, and he was playing WAP, and I didn't have a good hand to attack him on the second turn, so he was able to successfully flip. And on my play was to just spread across the board. But the problem was I didn't have Decree V, so I was taking a lot of ping damage. And I didn't have any way. The Destiny in this deck is very good because you're able to redraw through Vandalay and the Enforcement effect. You have a lot of high Destiny interrupts. And so my Destiny was perpetually getting canceled by WAP. And so Saturday night, it was late. Didn't really want to. I was convinced by the team, stick with the same decks, but let's make some changes. And ultimately, we decided to add 2 Dark Time combos for Sunday. So
I noticed that right off the bat. Like, those were the 2 cards from between your day 2 list to your day 1 list that really stuck out. I do want to ask, why choke Vader?
The Destiny is really good, and he can help you get another beatdown through. So he's just another way to remove a character. And you can set up a choke with Dedra pretty easily.
True. Yeah, it turns out she's a really strong character for this deck, being able just to put anything back. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a character, interrupt, anything.
Yeah, it's consequential for match play too, because it allows you to get cards back in your deck that you wouldn't be able to filter back through just for differential. So she is really the engine that makes the deck work as well as it does.
Okay, let's talk about your light side then. So again, you said you started with you went with Yoda commuting for both of them. I'm kind of not surprised because you played this last year. You were one of the main players who went with this multiple copies of R2 and Red 5 Yoda commuting deck. So, but some of the big things that stuck out to me were right off the bat, you have Mara Jade.
So this deck is a bit different than what we played last year at Euros. Brian, Fred, and I went last year. The deck we played then started the Insurrection combo and only played one of the 2 Naboo sites. And that puts you at a pretty big disadvantage against walkers. It makes it a lot harder to race because your damage output is much lower. So we pivoted to this build prior to Worlds. This is very similar to what I played at Worlds Day 1. Mara Jade was a change we made going into Day 2 for Brian's deck, just because she is another character who can draw alone. She's a pilot, which occasionally comes up that you need to throw somebody that's not Luke on R2 and Red 5. And she can carry Anakin's lightsaber, and she's 7 forfeit. I actually put her a lot on Han Chewie Falcon just as like a failsafe, so that if they got through my immunity through their tracking us or various things, that I'd have something else to lose before I had to lose the ship. So she is not a like must-have card, but she has a good amount of utility.
And yeah, it's funny because like she's one of those cards that you think a lot of people like. I have seen her pop up in Yoda community just because of that fact. And I want to ask, like, you're playing 2 copies of Luke Skywalker, The Rebellion's Hope. What are your thoughts on those Luke, say, over Luke Skywalker V, which a lot of people like to play in this deck?
I played one of each on Day 2, mostly just for match play purposes. I think in general, the Destiny to Power and Attrition is going to win you more games than the Retrieval. But in a match play situation, I think there's an argument to play one of each, because there are times that you're going to want to use the other Luke. But the number of times that Luke alone or Luke in conjunction with Han Chewie Falcon can really put the beatdown in on their own is strong. Against Jonas in round 7, which if the stream is able to get salvaged, this was a game on stream. I came down with Luke in ship on turn 2, I think, to Camino, and he went to Carida with a Star Destroyer with multiple guys on it. I played I Don't Like Sand and moved over with Falcon, and eventually I cleared out a Star Destroyer with 3 or 4 characters and Emperor Shuttle with Emperor on it twice by just drawing. I had 5/7/7 stacked, so I was eventually just churning through him.
And I noticed in your Day 2 list, one really big change was you switched from one Leia to Bausch. Or to
Which
Boosh.
Brian did the same thing at Worlds.
Okay.
We expected there was a good chance of hunt down, so just having another undercover spy doesn't hurt. She also allows you to drain through Coward on the Executor, so the ability to potentially push through damage there is not inconsequential. And the deck already has things like I can handle myself and dodge to help protect Jin, so it just gives you another undercover spy to help protect, to potentially shut off your opponent's damage, which is in my first top 8 match against Angelo. He ended up committing guys on the Naboo sites, and I had Jin at one site and Boosh at another, and I was draining for 2 in space, and that was basically all she wrote because he was done doing damage.
So I do want to ask, like, how does that playing her impact with, like, say, Calm Scan Detection, which is a card that just says get rid of target spy?
Well, because of the deck's mechanics, you're able to retrieve with Yoda. You have Walkling, you have Unita, you have Jedi Leb. So in general, my thought process is most people are only playing one Calm Scan Detection. We have multiple cards to cancel it, or that it cancels. So you can potentially fetch it out with those things. You also have a Falcon you can drain with alone. So if I see a Calm Scan Detection, my inclination is to grab it and then go all in on one of these cards. Like, I call the strategy all in on Jin.
That's fair. So you did end up going into the top 4. You made it out of Day 1, and then you got into the top 4. So I think you top 4 last year as well too.
It did. I lost a tight match last year to Jonas, who ended up placing second to Emil last year. He was the number 1 seed coming out of Day 1 this year, but was defeated in the top 8. So the top 4 was myself against Cedric, and then Quirin against Emil. Cedric was playing WAP for light side, so having the double dark time combo really came in handy.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to get a pretty big battle in on turn 2, clearing Yoda and Panaka.
Wow.
And then he moved his Amidala over, had a very small hand at that point after playing Rex, I think, with her. And then he Jedi left Yoda back in front of a few guys, and I was able to drop more people, stop him from canceling my destiny. I drew 5/5. I think I overflowed Yoda for like 13 after, and then I was draining at about 5 locations. So the game went exactly as I would have hoped.
And then,
unfortunately,
well, I was going to say, what happened game 2?
He was playing Huntdown and got a really fast start. I think by turn 2, he had out Vanna and all 3 of his 2-0s and had fetched for his Downtown Plaza. I missed my Camino pull on the first turn, and so I was forced to play one of my sites, which was not my plan. And then turn 2, I had no opening hand characters. I had activated Qui-Gon, so I drew up to him.
Yeah.
Turn 2, I activated the 2-0 site, so I played Camino for my hand, but didn't have the 2-0 site to fish, and things just kind of snowballed. It got to where he put me in a position where he played Ellis Hellrot to move all of his guys from one of the Naboo sites to the site where I was running away with Qui-Gon, and I was stuck with no force at that point, and he played First Strike, and I played, they're tracking us to activate one, but I had to debate between playing Dodge to move away, in which case if he has a canceller, the match is over, or I can play Hoojix and hope to scrounge something together to get him low enough. So I went with the Hoojix plan. I had to move some cards down off the Lost pile. I had to search for Unita for my deck, get Qui-Gon back. But at that point, I was just too far behind. So I think I ended up losing. I won the first game by 20, and I lost the second game by 23. Oof. So it was about as close as it could be.
Yeah.
And I had just a slow start. Sometimes that happens with the Yoda deck. You don't have a ton of characters. My hope there is if that happens, he has a slow start, but he didn't falter.
Yeah. Fortunately, that can happen with Huntdown. That's one of the things. I mean, it's one of those feast or famine type of a deck.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes sometimes. And Cedric played it really well. I mean, props to him for he said in his tournament report he thought he might even scoop early in the game if it didn't go his way. I never got that vibe. He felt confident sitting down in the second game. He played smart. He played well. So hats off to him for taking down the whole thing.
Awesome. Well, I do know that you have to go, Mike. So I thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you on. I can't wait to have you on again.
Thank you all for having me. And again, I'll just reiterate, if you have a chance to go to a tournament in Europe, prioritize it. Worlds will be there next year. It's the best fun I've ever had going to Star Wars tournaments. That's why I've kept trying to go back. And again, I just want to thank Tomas and Patrick and Kevin and John in particular for their hospitality. So thanks everybody, and may the force be with you. I'll see you soon.
Okay, Tommy, so now let's go into what happened with you. So this is your 4th major of the year?
Yeah, 4th major of the year. I'm still on a huge learning curve. I finished 4-4 on day 1, 2-2 in the constellation, and I was just my showing was chock full of mistakes. If I could get some of the rookie mistakes out of the way, I'm finishing 3rd minimum on day 2, and I actually was in a position where I thought that I had a chance against Bastion. That was probably just me being overconfident. But
that's one thing you got. Like, I have realized, Bastion is one of those players you can never be overconfident against.
Well, I sat down on my game 7 on day 1, and I did a little writing on it in my year review. He was just in a terrible place. He wasn't happy with his performance. And I thought right there, I'm like, wow, I really have an advantage here because I felt cool. I was really like getting comfortable with my deck. I've been playing it for a long time. And I made a huge mistake. Apparently, Odin Nelson combo is free against EPPs, so I got overflowed, and it was just downhill from there.
And that's something. So you played that against his EPPs, and you didn't have the force for it.
Yeah. So the previous turn, I came down with he was he quickly went to space with Boba Fett and ship, and then he was on the ground in his cantina with the Emperor and maybe Janice, and then he had like at least one other ground spot, Lord Maul alone. So I said, okay, this is where I should go. Lord Maul. I came down with Anakin, missed the Scitor pull, and I forget exactly what happened, but I cleared the site and stayed with Anakin, weaponless, of course. His counterbeat was Dooku and the EPP Kylo, and I'm sitting there with Odin in my hand with no force in my force pile. So I was just like, oh man. And then I, disheartened and kind of like off center, didn't reread the card, and so it actually would have came into play there, and it would have been fine. I mean, he had the advantage. He's got all the advantage of the experience and the professional play. So
he is a 3-time world champion. So I mean,
you got to get him on the bad days though, and it was a bad day for him. Well, God love him, but that was probably my one opportunity there. So.
And So I noticed after the event, once they released the standings, you said that you went 2-2. However, I want to say that you had like you ranked yourself really you did really well, all things considered. So I think no, you went 4-4, right?
Yeah, day 1 4-4. Both days just chock full of mistakes. Like another example of mistake on my game 1, we were drinking the dark German beers for the couple nights before and doing some good work over there. But I don't know if that was a factor or what. But game 1, I sit down and I ended up leaving my playing TTO. The first sector is still in my deck box, so. Anakin Saga against my 59 card deck. It didn't go well, and I was playing against Silver Glenn. So gracious, wonderful guy. I was happy to kick him up the ladder into the top 8 bid with that loss, but
so
yeah.
So that's a kick right there. I mean. So you went with TTO. This looks like the TTO that you played kind of looks like your normal TTO.
Yeah.
Now, are there any changes that you would want to make for this deck?
I actually brought. I'm not sure what changes I should make at this time, but this deck is the last tweak I did make going into Tatooine regionals in Colorado about 3 weeks ago. It did well in Tatooine. I finished second place in Tatooine in Colorado. So I was happy with the way it was playing. Again, more mistakes in Tatooine, so I was like, let's just run it again. It did well in Pasadena a week ago against the Scarif crew. Pretty close games, tight games, and I think that's just a function of me getting more used to it, getting used to the cards, and just I think playing better, making better plays.
Okay, so and then for light side, you went with a Obi-Wan community. It looks kind of like the same one that Hayes and Team 5 built. Is that you copying them, or did they copy you?
No, I've been. I definitely took some elements from the Team 5. I know Team 5 is trying to play the best decks, make the best decisions, and you can't argue with that because it's definitely showing in their results. But I took a lesson in their space package from them. I had some other suggestions, from some others. I went with the Harvest. To try to get an element of retrieval involved, and so there's one copy of Owen and Baru, 2 times Layer and Gon, in case they saw walkers, stuff like that. The spicy side was draw their fire, which I'm still learning on how to wield properly. But when it goes through, it's it can be
Yeah.
could be a blowout. And so to fit all that, I knocked down Return of the Jedi, hoping to get them to grab that,
Mhm.
and then I have my other tricks that I can circulate through with 3PO. But again, I've been playing Obi Muning since Nationals. I believe that was March this year.
Mhm.
So it was like brand new right out of the box in that event, and then I've just kind of stuck with it for the most part, trying to get used to it, facing against different decks. One of the notable matches is against Watto. That's kind of it's kind of a tough match. Is it it's helped me facing Watto so many times, especially at Worlds with the Obi Muning, has gotten me used to taking like early force loss and taking it in stride and not losing my center over it.
Yeah.
And I go got the Jabba's Palace and Tatooine Jabba's Palace in there to get around the shields and the farm with Cantina Mos Eisley starting the hut. So it's pretty strong. Um, I it wants to battle, it wants to overflow, and to do that and win the games, I really have to fight against my rookie instincts to over deploy, to draw up, and I really need to be more calculated and get all the tricks in my hand to make a calculated strike.
Okay. So did you end up playing these same decks for the consolation?
Yeah, same decks. I kind of focused on the social aspect of it, and I stuck with what I knew. It made it a lot better, especially with the international travel and figuring all the logistics out. I could focus on that stuff instead of worrying about the cards. Most of the events that I've gone to, especially earlier in the year when I'm starting to build decks, that was a heavy lift.
Mm-hmm.
Hours and hours of finding the cards, and then arts and crafts. A lot of sleepless nights getting ready for this stuff. So, it definitely took its toll. So I wanted to try to save myself with the travel and just stuck
That's
with what
fair.
I knew.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff. So I know that we're going to do like a more in-depth you-centric episode talking about all your travels. We'll start like at the beginning when you were just a hatchling, essentially, and hopefully we'll get to you celebrating a top 8 here soon.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, just a little synopsis about me. I live in Boston. I had some cards when I was younger, but I never played. And working on my thesis in 2020, I was having trouble. So I ended up with Magic the Gathering Arena on my phone. I'm like, this is great because I didn't play that back in the day either, but had the cards, loved the
Mm-hmm.
artwork. And then, I'm like, what? There was another game I had. What was it? Star Wars. And then I came into GEMP 2020, 2021. I was like just learning cards, playing sealeds.
Mm-hmm.
My deck building skills are low because I'm not familiar with all the interactions, the combos, the pull chains. And so, I had to really net deck was my main tool. But
Nothing wrong
then,
with that.
right, so focusing on like how to pilot basically, and then in October 2022, I went to a Cash event. I think it was a regional at
Mm-hmm.
TJ's Milton, and that's where I met Pistone, Desai, Gem, James Martin, Jules Verne, Ed Chien, and got started on the journey.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been playing open ever since, and I made the goal of 2023 to attend as many events as possible. Try to speed through the first 10,000 hours because that's what makes a professional. And just trying to do that as fast as possible, make all the mistakes now. So when I do come into the top 8 against Hayes or Bastion, or hey, I'm on my way. When I get there, hopefully those mistakes will be all ironed out.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I know that like everybody is definitely following along all the story this year, so we definitely want to get a more in depth uh, record of it and just celebrate what you're doing because it's it's crazy to look now and see like that we have a player who's going to every event, who's doing this. Like I have never seen a player like I know a lot of people go to majors, but I've never seen anybody who is going to regionals, going to every major, including European ones, going to uh, just visit some of the local neighborhood, like the local people. So it's what you're doing is really something special.
Thank you so much. I really had a desire to expand my personal network this year. After finishing my degree, I was saying, okay, what's next? And I've got the goals and trying to figure out what direction to move. But I said, what better way than to use the special flight benefits I get through my work as an aircraft mechanic, and to leverage the love of the game that I have, and to go out, expand the personal network, and meet all these great, intelligent people that are extremely hospitable. And it's been a real joy meeting everyone and playing all year.
Awesome. So, but yeah, I mean, from what it sounds like you had a great time over in Europe. Like, so when you say you got in, like, what was like the first thing that you did?
Yeah, I can confidently say, we'll start at the beginning. I can confidently say that I was the first person there. I got in. I took a Wednesday night flight, Boston to Amsterdam, and I got in Thursday morning. Got really nice seats. That was wonderful on the flight over, and I took several trains. I made some mistakes on the train, so it took a little bit longer. But I got to Bochum right at 3 p.m., right at my check-in time, and because of the way I travel, normally travel standby with through my work's flight benefits. Everything's kind of last minute, so I'm like, all right, what can I do? I found an Airbnb right across from the Acora, so I was able to slide in there right at 3 o'clock Thursday. Took a nap, and I got something to eat and rested, and it was just it's been like a disgusting summer 2023. We got ripped off. It was like April into June, and now September is like July. It's been disgusting, and Germany was no different. Wicked hot. The Airbnb was on the top floor, so pretty gross, but ended up going over to the Acora a little bit later, meeting up with Tomasz and Blackfire Patrick, both the Hungarians that got in a little late on a delay. And we hung out till about 4 a.m. and drinking the tall, dark German beers. Then Friday, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, so Friday, I was late for lunch, but we got the steak over at the El Toro, which is wonderful because then ended up going on Sunday. And then after that, we went over back to the Acora, met up with some of the Dutch people were there. Silva Glen was there, spirit of the party. It was really good to meet them. Then Bastian walks in, then Kessling walks in. It's like, look at all these heavy hitters are showing up. So that was cool. And then we decided, okay, let's walk over to Four Winds. And so we walked over. And right as I got there, Joe showed up. Joe was able to use the flight benefits as well. The first time I've ever used what they call a buddy pass.
Okay.
So he used the flight benefits to go from Seattle to Amsterdam, which has worked out real well. And then we split the Airbnb. So I walked back, met up with him, made sure he was situated, then came back and found my teammate for the team tournament, which was Jeeps.
Nice. Okay. How was it working with him? How was it working with him?
Oh, it's awesome. He's one of the best. Just such a lively guy, and all these wicked good ideas about the cards, and I played him on the OCS and then M2, so that was good. But we went. I think we tied for last place or something in the team tournament. Our team name, American Muscle. We were sweating. We had our sleeves rolled up. We were, we had a great time, but lost pretty good. Who do we play? We played Tomasz and Patrick first, and we played Stefan and Kuhn, and the last game escapes me right now, but they were good games, and we gave them hell. American Muscle. Let's go Jeeps.
And then so what was like the big highlight for you of the weekend? I know besides playing the game.
Yeah, the big highlight was probably seeing all the people, especially Joe and Mike, guys that they said, "Oh, I didn't even think I was gonna go," and then seeing them have a really good time, it just made my weekend. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
and of
awesome.
course, seeing my wife's face when I got home, being all happy, actually was a wonderful thing too.
So now you said that you what is your plan for Endor? Do you have one already in place?
Yeah, I'm registered for the sealed event. I got my hotel room. I got my weekend pass. I'm coming top 8. Let's see what I can do. Um, as far as deck choices, maybe I'll stay the same. Keep you relatively unprotected at home. But that's what's that like? Just what's that? 5 weeks from now, 6. Yeah, it's or 6 weeks from now coming up. Um,
yeah,
I'm
6 weeks. Wow.
Yeah, right, fast. So yeah, I just want to come out there, close out the year strong, and see if I can meet a few more people I know. I think Nate Davis is out there. He's been saying, "Come on down," so I'm like, "Let's go," and hopefully see all the people again out there.
Now, are you
And
going?
actually,
Are you going
yeah,
to go to any of the other events this year? Like I know we have the Now Hutta. They're doing an event the first weekend in October. I know they're doing their regionals as well as their states, Indiana States out in Indiana, and then the next really big event besides like Endor and Now Hutta is the Ohio. I think they're calling it like Omega Worlds.
yeah, that's cool.
So I know that's like the first weekend in November. Are you planning on going to either of those events?
Yeah, I've got my eye on a couple events coming up. One of them is the Las Vegas States. Not sure if I'm not sure where I'll fall as the year closes out. I won't be able to do much in December, most likely. Maybe one in November. I definitely can't make it to the Omega Worlds, and I'm so sorry. You guys have to learn. Uh, you guys are going to watch the episode and learn this way. I haven't made the official announcement that I'm out yet for that, but we'll be doing something that weekend, and I'll have to lay down the sword that weekend.
I was gonna say like that's Kendall's birthday.
I'll send him some love. I get a couple of things from Euros he might like.
Yeah, I think that would easily make up for him. But
Yeah, I'll miss everyone. I know that's going to be a wicked cool weekend, and I love the weekends where you can go over 20 games played.
No, no.
Oh yeah,
No.
you get 8 games on Saturday, 6 games on Sunday, team tournament, retro event on Friday, and then all the after hours games.
I can't do
went,
that.
I went 7-12 this weekend between all the games. 4-4 main event, 2-2 consolation, and then all the other games in between. 19 total, 20 minimum on a weekend, 20 minimum. Got to get over that learning curve.
You will get there. I have faith in you. But
Thank you.
well, I think that's all the time we have for you. Unfortunately, today, like I said, we'll save some more for our special large porg episode. We'll definitely have you on to talk about that here shortly. But big thanks to you and Mike for coming on, hearing about what you guys did out in Europe, and definitely can't wait to hear more from you.
Thanks so much for having me on the show first time, and thanks so much for everyone out in the European community. They were so hospitable to me, giving rides and pointers and just being really great people all around. I can't wait to see them again.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll be back. We'll definitely have to have you on again, sir.
I'll look forward to it. May the force be with you all.
Okay, everybody. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the interview with Mike and Tommy. It was definitely worthwhile doing, and can't wait to have them on at some point again. Well, so I think that's all we got for tonight. As I will say this, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to have some Set 22 spoilers on. We're going to have Joe Olson to talk about the OCS, and we're going to get Kieran and Cedric on to talk about the European Championships and their finals and everything that was played over there. So, like I said, I think that's all I got for tonight. Unless anybody else has any, unless anybody knows of anything that I'm supposed to do. But I will say, everybody have a good evening. Enjoy your the rest of your week. Oh, the Set 22 spoiler. That's right. I forgot. Your Set 22 spoiler is I had it. I can't remember what it was now. The Set 22 spoiler is Palpatine, Galactic Emperor. So I know we've already talked about this one. It's already been released. However, as you can see, the lore is now updated. Since the debacle at Yavin, the Emperor places a premium on the security of his costly war machine, and he will be a leader. He's a Dark Jedi Master, Imperial, Power 4, Ability 7, never deploys or moves, even if carried, to a site an opponent occupies. Once per turn, may take the Emperor's back into hand from reserve deck. Reshuffle. Opponent may not limit your force generation at your mobile sites, immune to attrition. Deploy 4 or deploy 5, and forfeit 8. And the underneath card is Prepared Defenses, as Chris spoiled in the chat. Chris is the spoil sport. Definitely. So the PC is taken to let everybody know that this should be an easy one for everybody to get. It's one of the cards that you always start with. So, it's going to be exciting. So your alternate ultra rare Emperor is now Prepared Defenses V, essentially. But again, that is all I have for tonight. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Next week, Chris Kelly has said that he will be on. You can make it up, Chris, by coming on next week to spoil the rest of Set 22. So until then, everybody take care, enjoy yourselves, have a good weekend, and as always, may the Force be with you. Good night, everybody.